And the question is, how do you respond to people who make you or me an enemy image? So what I think this question is saying is, I'll use it for me. Like if I become aware of the fact that you have an enemy image of me, what do I do about it? That's how I'm going to interpret that question. Hopefully that's the right way to interpret it. Okay. For those of you who don't know what an enemy image is, basically, if somebody has a judgment of me that is negative, that's really all it means. What do I do when somebody begins to think of me as a narcissist? Or what do I do if somebody thinks that the problem with me is I'm codependent and reactive and emotional? Or what do I do if somebody else thinks, oh my God, that Yvette, she's like totally got borderline personality disorder, stay far away from her. Whatever it is. Or what do I do if somebody thinks you're racist or you're sexist? Like these are enemy images. Anytime that we reduce a human being to a label that amplifies a narrow aspect of how we are perceiving and judging them, and then we react to them as if that is the sum total of who they are as a human being, that's forming an enemy image. Okay. So how do you respond to people who make you an enemy image? And I would say the easiest and quickest default would be with empathy. If that's too hard, avoid them. Done. There's nothing to be done. Like in some ways I'm like, and the inner work around that is make peace with it. Make peace with it. It doesn't matter in a way what people are thinking of you. And it doesn't matter if they have an enemy image of you. And it doesn't matter. Everybody is going to have negative judgments of you. Make peace with it. And the journey to making peace with that is really getting grounded in your own goodness and your own trust in your own ability to take in feedback without losing self-respect. Because the only thing that makes that kind of thing challenging is the degree to which I'm taking it personally. And I believe that my well-being and my self-respect is dependent on somebody else seeing me in a particular way. That's more of a sign that I am not full enough on the inside with the truth of who I am. And I'm still too dependent on somebody else seeing me in the way that I want to be seen for my sense of safety and well-being. And that's not a fun way of living. That makes you go through life feeling like you're a puppet on a string, dependent on external conditions for your well-being. So, you know, even as I say that, I just want you to know, even as I say that, I'm already making a long list of all of the ways in which we are dependent on external conditions for our well-being. And I'm arguing with myself because there's a paradox in here that becomes really important to ground yourself in. Do I love it when people see me accurately and see my good intentions and know me for the truth of who I know that I am? Do I feel safe and seen and known? And do my needs get met in those situations? Yes. Is that a lovely and wonderful thing? Yes. And the child in me, the young child in me, needed a lot of accurate attunement and mirroring from my adult caregivers in order to help me grow my internal sense of goodness and self and connection, that sense of self-connection. If I get enough of that as a kiddo, when I become an adult, I'm full up with me. I have a container that is resilient and that can learn and it can grow without crumbling. If I don't get enough of those needs met as a child, I will develop a lot of adaptations and a lot of strategies to cope. And one of the things that is very, very common is that people develop a false self. And the false self is a performative self. I learn how to be what I think other people need me to be. And if I organize as an adult my entire sense of identity and wellness around my ability to camouflage and become who you need me to be, or alternatively, I say, fuck all of you. I don't give a shit who you need me to be. I'm just going to be me and none of you matter. I start organizing around narcissistic wounds or codependent wounds. Then I'm going to be very, very vulnerable to other people's judgments of me, or I'm going to be completely unable to take in feedback from the world because I will think everything is everybody else's fault and it's not about me at all. And there's a ditch on both sides of that road. And what we're working on here is sort of healthy self-esteem, where I know that I'm good, but it doesn't mean that I always do everything well. And I know that I have great intentions, but that doesn't mean that the impact that I'm having is always what I'm intending. And I know that I'm just like all of you, and I can be messy and imperfect, and I can be selfish, and I can be codependent, and I can be narcissistic, and I can do all of the same things. And when I catch myself doing it, I can wake up and I can get aware and I can take responsibility for it. And I can be like, oh, shoot, I lost awareness there. I'm so sorry. I can stay and care for you. I can stay and care for me. I don't get derailed into shame and blame. So it's such a beautiful question, the person who asked this question. I think it's such a lovely way for us to sort of set the tone and begin this call today, because the practice that I would suggest we're always getting to is getting into a place of shared humanity. And one of the things that's going to help you with an enemy image is if you can own everything. Own everything and don't let it undo your sense of self-respect or dignity, knowing that you are an imperfect learning and growing and living and figuring it out human, and you're at a certain developmental stage, and whichever one you're at is great, and you're going to take whatever your next step is, and that's good enough. And there is no threshold that everybody is supposed to meet or become healthy enough to suddenly be lovable. We've got to get rid of this idea. We love people as they are. We love ourselves as we are, which is like undeveloped and unskillful at times. And like I was saying about my vacation, sometimes like super triggered. But instead of outsourcing, when I'm triggered, my well-being to everybody else needing to be different, to see it different, to think different, instead, that's a boundary invasion. I get much more grounded. It's much more about coming inward and feeling like, okay, what is true here for me? What do I know is true about me? Let me feel my feelings. Let me regulate my nervous system. I can control this. I cannot control all that. So everything out there is a stimulus, and my attention needs to stay on, what is my response to the stimulus? What is my work to be able to field the stimulus in a way of my choosing more? Where do I lose groundedness and become reactive? What can I do about that? Not what do I need to change out there? Always, what do I change in here? So this question, beautiful question. How do you respond to people who make you an enemy image? The most direct one, I'm going to go right back to the beginning, is you surface their feelings and their needs. When I took the lost cookie, I wonder if you were feeling disappointed and really had a need for consideration. And I wonder if you would like it if I checked in with you more next time. I'm happy to do that. I just really wanted that cookie today, and there was no part of me that wanted to give it to you. I had no desire in me to consider your needs, because my desire for that cookie today was so strong and urgent that I just had to gulp it down. But I'm hearing that that had a terrible impact on you. You now see me as this like selfish, greedy human. And I get that, because in that moment I kind of was, but I really hope you know how much I do love and care about you. And I will make an attempt to share with you more in the future. It really just boils down to that kind of conversation. You know, I get it. When I used XYZ word, it really brought up a lot of feelings for you, and it brought up some shame or some indignation or some outrage, and you're wishing that I had more sensitivity and awareness of the impact that that had on you. Is that right? Got it. Thanks for letting me know that. I will keep that in my awareness as I move forward. You know, so we stay in a dialogue. It's always a feedback loop. And you remember that every moment is just an opportunity for the next conversation, and that the conversations we're having with one another are never done. They're never done. You are always going back into the next conversation. So just stay in a growth mindset, maintain your sense of self-dignity. The best response to an enemy image is surfacing what it is that they are reacting to, what behavior they're reacting to, what feelings are coming up for them. What are the needs that are so important to them that they're trying to let you know about? An enemy image is always, most of the time, an enemy image is a self-protective mechanism. I'm feeling vulnerable around you, so I distance you by making you an other, whatever my enemy image is. I make you an other. It's a subtle form of dehumanizing. But I do that because I don't trust my ability to know how to stay in relationship with you. And the only fix to that is figuring out how to be in relationship with each other anyway. So I'm hoping that that is helpful. Does anybody have any clarifying questions? We need to love ourselves first. That's always a sign of me not being at peace with that first.